every 12 hours as they wilted. And I had Rex do the same thing over the cave tomb in Jerusalem, and so he photographed them obligingly. So the flowers wilt about the same way in Jerusalem as they do in our basement. Also, he was coming back to visit us on his way back to Australia, and I asked him to bring the Botany books of Israel back with him. So he arrived with a huge suitcase weighted down with the Botany books, including 6 volumes of the Flora Palestina or the standard Botany book. So that provided us images of what the flowers in the Middle East look like. This is the image I picked up first here. This is an overlay of what's down there compared with the other image. Just to show you some of the other images, these little dots are visible on virtually any photograph of the shroud. And we'll zoom in and show you what they are. You need a photograph for this. Okay, just a second. All right. These are this is the Pistacia lentiscus here. These are these little fruits here. You can see the matchup between these. These are about 1.5 millimeters in size. Here, and as you rotate back and forth, you can see the stem here, and how closely what's on the shroud matches up with those berries. Even on the shroud, we can see the outlines down here, which indicate there's some more of them down here. So that's how we help confirm the presence of some of these flowers. These are some of the other ones that we did early on. What we're looking at is this. We feel that that's this thistle is in really from the fork here. That's what we're looking at is outline up there. This is the scabiosa down. Let me take that off so I can see it better. Down here on the shroud. Actually, you can see the little stamen down here, right here. These are these little tiny 2 millimeter stamen, the detail on the flowers here. Here you can see the petals around here, and many of the stamen that are in the flower. This is the Rudolphia sagenum. On this plant, this image is found up near the fold by the head, so that the flower is slightly compressed here. But here on the Rudolphia, the drawing, we see all these little florets. There are about 100 of them here. And here, around in this circle, are some identically sized little images. These are, again, about 1.5 millimeters in size. And you can count, we've counted over 70 of these little dots around here, which are exactly the same size as the florets on the Rudolphia. So that we feel that that's an indication of the incredible accuracy that we find on the shroud. Here's another. This what we're looking at is this area down over the right shoulder down here. We'll move in a little more closely. We notice kind of a little fuzzy pattern there. You need your filters for this. Okay. Now this is a Hyacinthus reticulatus plant here. That means if you look at the drawing here, in the botany books, look at the drawing, you notice this network-like pattern. That's what it's referring to. And so if you rotate back and forth and look here, you can actually see this fine network pattern, which is less than 1 millimeter in size, on the shroud. And okay, here, this structure in the flower, this is the pistil, the stigma down here. To rotate back and forth, here we see visible on the shroud, a virtually identical image here, the same size, and even this little tiny 1 millimeter image down here that we can see, which matches up with the flowers. So again, we're pointing these out to indicate the incredible accuracy of the images, the various images that we see on the shroud. I contacted Shortman again, since he had gotten us started in that, and so he did a lot of experimentation with chrome discharge. This was off of a chrysanthemum here. So this is the chrome image, the shroud, and again the drawing from the Flora Palestina. This is a rock rose, or Cistus this is a Cistus criticus image. This is a coronal imaging made off of the flower. These are imaging done on thorns to see what thorn images look like on coronal discharge. Here we see little dots along the shaft of the thorn, and kind of little sort of like little bulbs at the end of the thorns. And here we're comparing with what we see on the shroud, which is, here we can see these little dots along here, and the little excrescences here, which would, similar to what we see there. Just go over here. Okay. This is a coronal imaging made off of the holly leaf, the thorn leaf here. This is an image on the shroud. And again, we see the outline here, these little dark spots here, and with some little dots emphasized on the edges here, and that's what we see on the shroud, on the thorny leaf of the gandilia. But this just shows again some other images. We see this circle of little dots here. Those are the anthers of the Capparis plant here. There are about 24 on the plant, and we can count 24 of these little dots, about 1 millimeter in size. That we would expect from the shroud. Sherman did a coronal imaging off of a bouquet. Here we see what it looks like. This is a coronal image of a bouquet that is compared with a bouquet on the abdomen here. Here we can see actually the stems here. There's some sort of little binding here holding the flowers together. Here we can see the very faint images which are quite similar to the coronal imaging off of a bouquet here. This just shows some of the various comparisons of the shroud image and coronal studies that were done by Oswald Shorenton. I had some other experiments done. He took a chrysanthemum, got coronal imaging, same flower, one day 24 hours old, same flower 48 hours old. So we can see that there's a marked change in the appearance of the flower by coronal discharge here. That is that our studies by the photographing the shrinking of the flowers, we sort of combined these and could determine approximately when the time when a number of these images was formed on the shroud. And so the degree of shrinking, the change in the images we see on the shroud would indicate that these images were formed between 30 and 36 hours after these flowers were picked, which was considerable interest and importance. We had tabulated this, so this 3D photograph again shows there are many of the floral designs around here, the Capparis, the Pistacia lentiscus, the Rudolphia up here, the chrysanthemum over here, and so forth. So that we had tentatively identified 28 varieties of flowers here. We thought this was important because all of these grow in Israel. The common blooming time of these flowers we identified was March and April. Also, Dr. Max Fry had done work on pollen earlier, had identified we'll not get into that detail. He identified the pollens of 25 of these 28, due to a genus or species. So that we thought this was of considerable importance, and we tried to get this in the media. There was a problem. This was 1989, and guess what? Nothing. As the media, proved the shroud to be a fake, and so that here's some Duke psychiatrist trying to tell people there are floral images on this fake shroud, and that went nowhere. So we basically just sat on this data because we couldn't do anything with it, and entered this gentleman. In 1995, we took a tour to Israel, and I, of course, heard of Professor Danin, who fortunately is here at the meeting with us. He's the world's authority on the flowers in the Middle East. I called him up and told him I did work on the shroud and had some images I'd like for him to see. So we took one of our photographs in the back there, over there, and I handed the photographs. I studied over for 4 years trying to identify these flowers. Dr. Danin picked it up, looked at it for 15 seconds, and said, "Those are the flowers of Jerusalem." Well, that's what I thought. It was nice having the world's authority on the flower of Jerusalem agree with us. So that he obviously knew that this was no ordinary finding and had become a very treasured friend and colleague with us. Here he is in our basement on a different occasion. He's been here in Durham, on 7 occasions going over various floral material photographs, but we happen to have custody of the Fry collection also, so that here he's plotting the location of some of the flowers. He also supplied not only great information, he supplied some botanical specimens. There may be a certain repetition in his presentation since we didn't get together ahead of time to separate our slides, but I said, well, I better see these twice rather than not at all. So this is the Gandilia thorn specimen here next to what we see on the Shroud. And here we see an interesting, there's a line coming up here, which happens to be just the same width as the stalk of the Gandilia thorn, or thistle. This is the roundness of the Coides thorn here. This is the specimen. Here we see this very interesting image on the Shroud. This is we feel, a very important photograph here. In this one small area, there's the flower that Professor Danin identified as the Zygophyllum domosum down here. Here's the Isanus reticulatus down here. Here's the Gandilia thistle up here. Here's the Paris plant up here. So Dr. Danin will probably mention this tomorrow. But on this single image here, this locates the origin of the Shroud in the vicinity of Jerusalem. And there's another important finding right up here. That's that the Caparis the bud opens, starts opening in the morning, opens progressively during the day. It's fully open just before sundown. If you happen to be a botanist, as Professor Danin is, he looked at it and said that flower is picked between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the botanical findings are extremely important here. This was the year 2000. There was this private conference of a number of the researchers in Turin to discuss findings, and we were very fortunate having a private showing of the Shroud here, Professor Danin, and here I'm staring at this Shroud in awe. And so that Professor Danin very quickly picked up this image on the Shroud, and here he is pointing to the image on the Shroud of the Gandilia that turned 40. This is a 3D image of that area, and here we see the Gandilia coming up here, the line. Here we see a line coming up here. Here's the Paris up here, the line coming down here, line up here. What we have here is the image of one of the crowns of thorns. So the crowns of thorns were actually put in, they're taken off the head, put in the Shroud, and so that they're imaged on the Shroud. We feel that this is just one of our colleagues, family colleagues, who do a lot of strange things. There's kind of showing early on what we feel the body looked like just before the Shroud was closed here. That's that the crown of thorns put in here, flowers banked around the head and various parts of the body, and various other implements were put in the body here just before it was closed over. Again, to show that these flowers were not just faces in the clouds or water stains or whatever, but that these were detected quite early. These are early depictions. This is Rome in the catacombs, probably 3rd century, and they're close up. Actually, we can see flower patterns there. This is probably early 4th century. Again, closer up, we can see the flower patterns on that. Here's the 7th century or 6th century, we can see them as well. On this 7th century icon, the wax is dropped off here, and we can see the guidelines that the artist was using to indicate where the flowers were. This is the image that actually got us started developing a polarized image overlay technique. This is the Pantocrator icon. There's a photograph of at the back here. This is just an enhancement of that to show, looking out here, these are so faint you probably would miss them. But if you look very carefully, there are lots of flower images all the way around here. So that the images were depicted in incredible detail in the early artwork. These are Byzantine coins on my fingers. Again, these three are from 692, but this is from 945. All these are highly accurate to the Shroud image itself. This is the one that we showed before, which was a Byzantine coin, but they lost access to the shroud, and so that the artists in Constantinople, with the image down in Edessa, which was in Muslim hands at the time, they used a different image. And here we can see that the background is perfectly flat, so they were capable of producing flat images here. These are the Byzantine coins, and if you notice that there's kind of irregularities in the background there. We think that those irregularities are the flower images. Here again we can notice patterns around here. And we think that these are the actual flower images. Keeping in mind, this image on the coin is less than 9 millimeters high from there to there. So these are minute images. As, these are fit on the head of a pin. This is the coin that we actually developed our technique on, the Byzantine coin. And again, if we look out here, we notice some very interesting patterns around the head here. This is what we feel it is. And as we draw to a conclusion, we're going to show you here, we need the polarizers back. We're going to look in detail at this area right here and this area right here on the coin. Okay. So we find the polarizers. All right, now if you get your polarizer, and if you turn to the coin, you can see here's this sort of ray extending out here. Rotate to the shroud. And here we see on the shroud, this incredible detail coming out here. Here's actually a flower out here. We come up here on the coin that looks like a flower, rotate to the shroud, well, there one is. Up here, again, we see the flower. The flower up here. Again, showing this incredible, fidelity on these coins. That how the die cutters ever got that on there staggered my imagination. We think the only reason for this is that these are actually religious icons, and so since they had the original, they had access to the shroud image and were producing it as faithfully as they could. This is the other side of the coin. Again, just to show the incredible fidelity here is, just 1 second. All right, now this is pretty good. Okay, again, as on the coin, we notice this ray coming out here. Rotate the shroud. Here we see line coming out here. We see that actually there's a small flower image here. We see that that's incorporated into the coin. We look here, there's on the coin, it looks like a flower. On the shroud, it looks like a flower. On the shroud here, we see the stem and the bottom of the flower. Here we see basically the same structure up there and up there. So here, of all things, we can see that these coin images were incorporated in these 6th century or 7th century coins. Indicating that the images on the shroud were obviously much clearer in the earlier centuries than they are now, and that these incredible artists who were studying these and had access to the shroud image were reproducing these. As again, skeptics will remain, but I'll show you one more slide. This is a couple more. Okay, well, these just show floral background here on medieval depictions of Jesus. This painting was done in 1356, just after the shroud came out for public viewing in Livre. And here we see on this representation, actually, most of the implements of crucifixion are there, but these are quite accurate to what we've identified on the shroud. Up here, interesting, there's a flower, and if you look very carefully up there, here we see a very faint floral background all over here. So we feel that this is incredibly accurate, the representation that the artist was producing in this time. But my wife says stop, so we'll stop at this. Again, there are skeptics will remain, but Dr. Philus always finished up his lectures with this slide. Reality is not destroyed for lack of explanation. But thank you very much.